I was 72 when Martin died. The night he passed was quiet. Too quiet. Not the kind of peace you feel when someone slips away after a long life, but the kind that hums in your chest like something's been left unsaid. He died in his sleep just like that. No drama. No warning. Just stillness. I had gone to bed beside him and woke up next to a stranger's silence. We'd been married 47 years. They say you get used to someone. That after decades together you know everything about them. Every habit, every sigh, every little lie. But what they don't tell you is how much a person can hide if they really want to. And Martin, well, Martin had been hiding a whole life. The funeral was simple. Closed casket. Blue suit. His favorite hymn playing through cheap speakers while I held onto a folded napkin instead of a hand. Our sons were there. Daniel flew in from Seattle and Peter drove up from Baltimore. They both took my hands and whispered, "We're here, Mom. You're not alone." But alone was exactly how I felt. After the service, people brought casseroles and condolences. They meant well. But after the last dish was scraped clean and the sympathy cards stopped arriving, that was when it hit me. The house wasn't just quiet. It was hollow. Grief is strange. It creeps in through the wallpaper and sleeps in your socks. I'd sit on the edge of the bed and still leave space for him. I couldn't bear to get rid of his clothes. His scent still clung to the old wool coat he used to wear when he raked leaves. And it was in that coat, stuffed in the inner pocket, that I found the brass key. Small, old, and tight. The kind you'd use for a diary or maybe a lockbox. Only we didn't own a lockbox. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room staring at the key, letting it press against my palm. At 3 a.m., I walked barefoot out to the old tool shed behind our house. Martin had kept it locked for years. He said it was where he stored his projects. I never thought twice. I trusted him. The key turned with a heavy click. And the moment I stepped inside, I stopped breathing. The shed wasn't filled with tools. It was filled with secrets. There were folders, neatly labeled. Envelopes with postmarks from Oregon. Receipts for wire transfers, photographs of a woman. Not just any woman, the same woman over and over again. She was in her 30s, maybe early 40s. Auburn hair, wide smile. In one picture, she was sitting beside Martin at a lakeside restaurant. His arm was around her waist. They looked happy. Too happy. I sank to the floor. Among the files was a handwritten note. For Judith, in case anything happens to me. Judith. Her name burned into my brain like smoke in wallpaper. I opened the envelope. Inside was a copy of a will. A different one than the one we had drawn up together a decade ago. In this version, Martin left everything to Judith. Not me. Not our sons. Not even a portion for our grandchildren. Judith. I felt something break inside me that night. Not just my heart. My history. The life I thought I lived had been rewritten behind my back. It wasn't just betrayal. It was theft. Of memory. Of love. I cried in that shed until sunrise. The next morning I did something I never thought I'd do again. I put on lipstick. I walked to the bank. There, in the safety deposit box Martin and I had opened when Daniel was born, I found the original will. Dated 2 years after the one in the shed. Signed. Notarized. Witnessed. It was ironclad. And Judith? She wasn't mentioned. Not once. And I remembered Martin's words from years ago, back when we first wrote the will together. Never give anyone the original, Maggie. You always keep the original. I hadn't thought about that moment in years. But somehow Martin must have remembered too. Or regretted. Or maybe Just maybe he knew what kind of mess he'd made and wanted to clean it up quietly. Judith didn't know that part. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from a law firm in Oregon. They demanded the house, the accounts, even the insurance money. They claimed I was withholding Martin's estate. They had their version of the will. I said nothing. I sent them mine. They called it forged. They threatened court. I welcomed it. I had my lawyer dig through everything. And when we met in mediation, I sat across from Judith for the first time. She was beautiful. Sharp jawline. Expensive handbag. She looked at me like I was in her way. I didn't blink. Her lawyer argued. But the judge wasn't moved. The documents were real. Verified. Binding. She left with nothing. But I wasn't finished. That night I went back into the shed. I gathered every letter, every photo, every little secret Martin had tucked away. I made a neat little package and mailed it to Judith. No note. No warning. Just closure. Let her grieve the man he really was. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because I needed the truth to have a home. I am not a bitter widow. I am a woman who survived the erasure of her own life. I still water Martin's favorite rose bush. I still keep his picture in the hallway. But now I remember him for all of it, not just the good. Grief and betrayal can exist side by side. And sometimes justice doesn't come with anger. Sometimes it comes with clarity.